Let's now get into the most common frequently asked questions, which homeowners ask all the time. If you're new to Aeroseal, you might be asking them too. This one-page consumer FAQ sheet is an awesome resource which I recommend that you memorize and have available to hand out. A copy can be found to download in this lesson. Read it because we aren't going to cover all these FAQs today. In my experience, the most common questions you'll get are, is the sealant safe and what is it made of? Since that comes up almost every time, you might as well explain it in your presentation and proactively head it off at the pass, thereby preventing an objection or concern from even coming up. In section 7, I'll share some suggested scripting. Here are the key words and phrases you'll want to always use when answering these sealant-related questions. It is non-toxic. It is used in schools, hospitals, and surgery centers around the world. It is a vinyl, very similar to the white craft glue kids use in kindergarten, but stronger and stretchier. It is a component of water-based latex paints and has less than 1/10 the VOC level needed to qualify as low VOC. It's also basically what chewing gum is made of, but stretchier. Now, having said all that, even though the sealant is non-toxic, the technicians who are applying the sealant should wear a dust mask to minimize the amount they breathe in, just as a carpenter should if sanding non-toxic wood. Aeroseal seals holes, and you have 2 of them at the end of your nose. The airborne sealant is a bit unpleasant if it gets stuck on the little hairs in your nostrils. The client might also ask, during the seal, where does the sealant escaping from the ducts go? Well, when the ducts are in wall cavities, attics, or crawl spaces, the escape sealant will just settle in those spaces. Of course, we don't want any to settle in the living area, so the technicians use scrubber fans to filter the air to capture any sealant entering the living areas. You can see an example of that on the This Old House TV show video. On some jobs, they will use ducted scrubbers, basically super filters to capture any particles. Or sometimes they'll use other fans to directly ventilate parts of the house to outside. Or flipped around to create a positive pressure to keep sealant from migrating into the living area from the attic and crawl space. Depending on the job and where the ducts are located, the crew may also cover some or a lot of the client's furniture and electronics with sheets or drop cloths. Next, you'll probably be asked, can I be in the house during the sealing? Our official answer to this is we prefer no one is in the house during sealing due to the impact on productivity. If you are pregnant, senior, or infant, or utilizing medical equipment, we do encourage you to leave as a simple safety precaution. Now, this all relates to how much airborne sealant is present in the air before being captured by the scrubbers. When the ducts are in attics and crawl spaces, we rarely get significant fogging in the living area. And it can be virtually eliminated by using a fan in a window or door to put the house under a slight positive pressure during the sealing. In basement-style houses, short-term fogging can be pretty noticeable, especially if sealing the building cavity returns. If the client wants to stay in the home, they should be offered a fresh dust mask, or extra effort should be made to ventilate or scrub the air in the house. Another straightforward reason your clients may prefer to be out of the home is that we have to turn off the heating and air for at least a couple of hours typically, and sometimes much longer. People sometimes ask, what about my pets? The biggest risk is pets escaping. Doors are often open or ajar throughout the process for the lay flat or air compressor hoses, and workers are coming and going all day. So we recommend that cats and dogs be on a fixed leash out of the work area, maybe in the backyard or garage. Now, there are some pets which should either be removed from the home or very carefully protected because of the sealant being airborne. The most common concern is that birds, apparently reptiles and some other small pets, have very small nostrils, kind of like really small ducts. Pop quiz. Up to what size hole is Aeroseal readily able to seal? About 5/8 of an inch. How small is the nostril on a budgie? About a 1/16 of an inch. Do you see the problem? Another common question is, do our ducts need to be cleaned before Aeroseal? Extremely dirty ducts should be cleaned first. There's of course a really wide spectrum of dirtiness out there. If they have been properly cleaned sometime in the last few years, it's very unlikely they'll need to be cleaned again before Aeroseal. Good practice is to always look inside some of the openings when quoting the job to assess whether cleaning is needed. As a rule of thumb, we recommend duct cleaning if the dust buildup is over 1/8 of an inch. If no one can remember when the last time was that they were cleaned, if ever, the good news is that the supply side is rarely so dirty that it would keep the sealant from finding and sealing the leaks. Supply sides tend to build up minimal dirt because the return side ductwork, the system's filter, and the equipment itself captures most of the dust before it actually gets into the supply ductwork. Now, on the other hand, the return side ducts in building cavities are often really filthy. Skin flakes, cat and dog fur, and other stuff might have built up in them for years and years. This is especially so when the intake grills are down low, and they are standard grills as opposed to filter grills. At the other end of the return spectrum, attic return ducts with ceiling mounted filter grills usually are actually quite clean, even if they've never had a duct cleaning done. You just have to look and evaluate. The thing is, most people who end up buying Aeroseal are likely to also value getting their ducts cleaned anyway, even if the dirt level wouldn't pose a problem for sealing. When you have the grills and registers off, you can use the opportunity to have a conversation about duct cleaning, and many people will happily buy a clean and seal. Now, if your company doesn't already do duct cleaning in-house, I encourage you to seriously look into getting set up to do it. Duct cleaning and duct sealing go together like ham and eggs. I'm available to consult privately with your management if you are pondering the pros and cons of doing that. By the way, once a system has been cleaned and sealed, there's no problem cleaning them again at a later date. Since we're talking about duct cleaning, that raises the whole question of what exactly is the scope of work when a homeowner buys Aeroseal? And that's where we'll pick it up on our next lesson. Thank you for being an Aeroseal dealer, and I'll see you next time.